Yo, what's up, YouTube? We are back. We just got access to the new WARBOND for the crossover with Halo. As you can see, we have it fully unlocked. I really enjoyed messing around with this. It was a very fun time. But now I want to go into like how good is the WARBOND? How useful are the weapons? And is it worth the price? Because it comes out at 1,500 super credits and we do not get the 300 super credits back. So there's definitely like a price comparison difference of, you can look at normal WARBONDs as 700 or so super credits. So it's like double the price, if not a little bit more. So you definitely have to put that into price comparison. But obviously it's like an ultra premium WARBOND. So yeah, let's get into it. Only 637 medals needed to unlock everything. Starting from the top, we get some of the banners, the hell jumpers. We get the classic ODST armor. If you have not seen the perk, I can read it out for you here. Wear makes 50% less noise and increase radius around the player so you can see POIs easier. And the 50% less noise, just to make this clear, it's while moving. So your weapons aren't affected by this. It's just like footsteps, clambering, mantling on stuff, sprinting, running, stuff like that. The really thing that like basically sets it apart from other ones, in my opinion, that kind of make it nice is the immunity to leg injuries. And what that means is that you just can't break a leg in this. So it actually kind of has a use in bug missions in particular, and a little bit in like Illuminate missions, I would say, for like running away from like Illuminate forces, if you need that kind of mobility. But for the most part, I find the armor to be fairly mid. If you're going for a stealth playthrough, the scout armor is just better that you get from the base WARBOND. The 30% point of interest range isn't very impactful, even in like SC farming. So really the only thing that like I said, kind of matters to me is the leg immunity. So we'll see. Maybe they'll make some changes in the future to it. Overall, you get a lot of cosmetic. You get like that greenish pastel color that a lot of ODST and just like in general UNSC forces have, so which is cool. Now going into the assault rifle, the like legendary MA 5C assault rifle. Damage is 80, capacity is 32, recoil is 19, fire rate is 640. Basically this weapon falls in the middle of the Liberated Penetrator and the Adjudicator. It doesn't quite have the damage of the Adjudicator, which is 95. It has more damage than the Liberated Penetrator at 60. So it fits nicely in the middle. As far as capacity, obviously it doesn't hit the drum mag of Liberated Penetrator, but the Adjudicator only hits 30 rounds in the magazine. As far as recoil, it also fits in the middle. Liberated Penetrator has like no recoil, whereas the Adjudicator has a good amount of recoil, especially for its fire rate. I find the assault rifle works quite well on bots and Illuminate. The magazine is what kind of lets it down in bugs, but who's surprised there? But if you're like doing fairly good precision shooting on bots, I think 32 rounds is more than enough. And for Illuminate, it can feel a little bit low. Just remember, when you're dealing with voteless, shoot them once in the leg and they'll fall onto the ground and they'll just crawl at you and eventually bleed out, or you just one tap in the head. But for like majority of like Illuminate forces, medium pen feels very nice. Just a short burst, like 3 rounds to the head of a Overseer, they're gone. You can shoot the chest of an Overseer as well, does quite well. It's around 10 rounds or so, which feels nice. You can obviously take out your Harvesters, you can take out Watchers pretty well. You can't quite one mag a Stingray. It seems like it's 1 mag and a bit, unfortunately, but still very nice for taking out that enemy as well. I liked it on both the bots and Illuminate. It's solid. If I had to give it a rating off the top of my head for those two factions, I'd probably give it like an A- for bots in particular, and then maybe like a B+ on Illuminate, maybe closer to an A-. I think the only thing that I'm really having a problem with is that like it doesn't quite have the punch or the precision that you might want on Illuminate to hit heads and stuff like that, because obviously when you go first person in this, you're just kind of staring at the heads up display that you can spot there, and you're not actually like looking down a scope. So it doesn't have that zoom in factor that you might expect from a typical AR. So if you're looking for more precision, you're not really gonna get it. So it's more of like a mid to close range assault rifle rather than a long range assault rifle that you might be able to take with maybe Adjudicator. You might be like 2-tapping enemies at 100 meters. You're not really doing that with this weapon. So that's why it's a little bit lower on the totem pole as far as like Illuminate and bots are concerned. So keeping that in mind. Moving on to the second page, we have the M7S SMG. I find SMGs in general to be very awkward in the current like state of the game. It's basically just the Reprimand, which is not even really an SMG. It's an assault rifle in the SMG category, but it really should just be in the assault rifle category because it's not even one-handed. And you have the Knight, 8, which is like a proper paid weapon, and that thing just wins on DPS. Everything else just feels awkwardly placed because it just feels like it does its damage so slowly, and it feels quite inaccurate at mid-range, and even in close range, I feel like I could just use an assault rifle for the same thing. So going one-handed doesn't really do anything for me. This SMG kind of feels the same as the other ones, where it's like it's awkwardly placed, where it doesn't quite have nearly as much fire rate as the Knight at 1300 rounds. Its damage is the same as the Knight, so it doesn't gain anything there. The recoil is nice, but the Knight still has less recoil, and the capacity is only 48, where the Knight has 70 with the extended mag, and then Defender has 75. So the other thing this thing really compares to is like the STA-11, which is already not that good of a weapon in this grand scheme of things, and the Reprimand, which is not even an SMG. So it's like okay, it's not like a bad weapon, and I don't think it's like great. So it's kind of in this mid tier of like it's serviceable. It's very satisfying to use. It sounds great. The suppressor doesn't really do anything because it's not that kind of stealth game. It's not an aggressive stealth game. It's more of like a passive stealth game. You can hide from enemies very effectively in this game and get around them, but as soon as you start shooting weapons, they know exactly where you are. It doesn't really change how the game feels in that regard. So it being suppressed, you won't really change anything. Maybe if you play at really low difficulties and the mob density is really low, the suppressor might come in use more often, but for me personally, I don't think I would ever notice it. So yeah, I'm thinking that the M7S SMG is more of like across the board on every faction. It's B minus, maybe even C plus on like a faction like the bots, just because it's not particularly accurate and it's kind of hard to hit shots because the shot speed of it is quite low. You have to be quite close to enemies, and it's light pen, and it doesn't do that much damage per shot. And I find myself, I would rather just use the Knight even on bots, because at least I have like really good damage per second to just spray something down in the leg or something like that. Yeah, definitely one of the more disappointing aspects of the WARBOND, unfortunately. M90A shotgun, this thing is the complete opposite of the SMG. It actually manages to one-up the Punisher in a bunch of different ways that I didn't expect it to. It does 50% more damage, because as you can see, it does 605 damage versus the 405 damage of the Punisher. It has the same knockback effect as the Punisher. Now, its capacity is 10 less, but it's not a big deal as long as you remember to hit the reload button after like every couple shots. Don't let this thing empty or else it's a really long reload. But it does individual round reloads in the top, and it's very fast. So take a shot or two, reload. Take a shot or two, reload. And this thing one-shots bugs very consistently. Two-shotting Alpha Brood Commanders in the head. I think it might one-shot Alpha Brood Commanders in the head, like removing their heads so they're decapitated in one shot. I don't play on the lower difficulty, so you guys will have to let me know in the comments. But dude, I love this thing. It's great on like every faction. Maybe not like bots, obviously, because it's a shotgun, and it's not as accurate as the Punisher. The Punisher still exists as a good shotgun option because you can get the full choke, and then it actually, the Punisher actually excels at like this mid-range combat, which you wouldn't expect a shotgun to perform well at. But the M90 definitely has that wider spread, right? So you're trading off close range damage for more of like a mid to long range, not long range, but more of a mid range or longer mid range with the Punisher. Love the shotgun. Highly recommend. Great sound, great design, good ammo economy. It comes with 44 rounds in reserve, so 50 total, including the actual weapon itself. I haven't mentioned the other weapons for their ammo economies because they're basically just normal ammo economies. It's like 8 for the assault rifle, and I believe 8 for the SMG, or 7 for the SMG in reserve. Nothing to call home about as far as like a greater or less. It's very standard for SMGs and AR, so not too much. But for the shotgun, feels good. I wouldn't complain about it. It does have less rounds overall, but it's doing 50% more damage per round, so it kind of makes sense why it has less rounds per. All right, going into the last weapon. Oh, let me quickly say the rating I would give for the shotgun is like solid A for bot or bugs, in my opinion. For Illuminate, maybe like A minus, B plus. It does suffer at range, especially the more elevated enemies. But if you want to just like stun lock overseers and kill them even at medium range, it's fun to use. It's overkill as fuck versus the voteless, but it does perform quite well even against flesh mobs. It won't, stagger them, but it does pack a punch, which is really nice. And the whole entire spread will hit them, so feels good. Bots, it's probably like a mid B plus. It's not a bot weapon. It's obviously, but it does, like, if you get the right variant versus like berserkers and they're all running at you, this thing will easily one tap every single one of them, which is cool. So it's not completely useless on bots, just you almost need to know what kind of variant you're going into before you like jump in. Versus jetpack troopers, which I did use it in, you know, when they're jumping on top of you, those devastators, it felt pretty good. I liked it. It was fun. All right, talking about the M6C SOCOM pistol. 100 damage, 12 capacity. Recoil is non-existent. Don't even pay attention to the recoil value here. It's non-existent. And then the fire rate is 900 if you have a trigger finger fast enough for it. This weapon is literally just a slightly better or slightly different statted version of the Peacemaker, sorry. And ironically, it says it's suppressed, but the Peacemaker was also suppressed. It's the most quiet weapon in the game. I'm assuming this weapon is even quieter, but it's kind of funny that that's the case. The Peacemaker is, I think, 15 or 16 rounds in the magazine. This is 12. It also, I believe the Peacemaker is 85 damage versus is 100. They're both light pen. It felt okay. It's just one of those sidearms that just doesn't have enough utility for me to really want to bring it reliably, other than just for the fun factor of it. I tend to look at my sidearm as utility. I'm going to be bringing it for medium pen, or I'm going to be bringing it for explosive damage so I can close a bug hole, or I'm going to be using the Bushwhacker for pushing enemies back. I'm going to be using the Crisper for fire. I'm going to be using like the Senator for the heavy pen to take out Hulks. I'm going to be using the Verdict for the medium pen. Like, I always have like kind of like a utility in mind for a lot of my sidearms nowadays, and this just doesn't really have utility. It's just kind of a bog standard assault pistol. The suppressed is interesting, but like I said earlier, like I don't think suppressed is going to change your gameplay at all, unless you're like playing a really low difficulty and you're trying to play a solid snake. And even then, I don't think you'll be very successful because the game's not really designed for that aggressive stealth. It's designed around passive stealth, more or less, or at least that's what flourishes. So yeah, I don't know. I think overall it's like a C plus B situation, somewhere in that range, depending on which faction you're playing against and how you feel about suppressed weapons. It's fun to use. It sounds great, but really fast reload though. At least it's got a blisteringly fast reload, so small capacity, but it reloads crazy fast, especially if you have one round left, so you don't have to rack the bolt. So yeah, now getting into my overall thoughts, especially with the price of it, you know, talking about it again, it is 1,500 super credits. And as you can see, there are no like super credits along the way, right? You're just getting a bunch of cosmetics, and it largely just does feel like a cosmetic war bond. Nothing here is game changing. There's no crazy utility or anything like that. Even the shotgun, you can largely just miss and just use the regular Punisher, and you'll get basically the same feeling out of it. You just take 2 shots sometimes instead of 1, right? And you'll have better range, right? So, and you get customization, and none of these weapons have customization. I haven't mentioned that, but they don't. So it's a lot of cosmetic, you know, things that are being added. So it's a hard sell on someone who is very meta oriented. If you are someone that is purely buying war bonds based on how useful they are and as like toys in your toy belt to feel like very different and like, you know, give you this crazy different like gameplay experience or just feel very powerful, not really the war bond for you. You can tell that they balanced it more around being a cosmetic side grade, you know, going for more of the, you know, the cosmetic and for that role play potential rather than being like, these are meta defining weapons. I don't think they're like bad weapons. You know, I genuinely don't think so. I think all these weapons, especially if you play on like the lower difficulties, are actually very good, especially if we're talking about like, you know, the assault rifle or the shotgun, but they're definitely not like must haves. They're not like democratic demolitionist if you're talking about like the eruptor or crossbow. As far as price, you know, it's double the price. I would probably recommend, if you're newer to the game, unless you're a massive Halo fan, I would probably lean more towards going for, you know, democratic demolitionist, or just like check out my WARBOND video. I'll link it in the description down below. Check out my WARBOND video and like just go through that list of like the ones that I recommend and the ones I don't. You know, I would even recommend the ones I don't recommend over this, just because you're not getting much other than like a cosmetic. It's fun, and if you got the super credits laying around, you know, that's awesome. But remember, we are getting a new WARBOND next Thursday. They just announced it. It's the Dune crossover with the 3 stratagems inside of it and the fire assault rifles. So if you're like, I don't know which WARBOND to get, I'd probably just go for next week's. It is what it is. But this one isn't going anywhere. This WARBOND will be here in 6 months. They've confirmed it's not going to be like Killzone. It will be here. So down the road, if you got a bunch of super credits and you're just like collecting, or you know, you want to grab it then, or maybe they change it, because it is possible with the feedback that they get over the WARBOND, they might change some stuff, and maybe they will. We'll see. But anyway, Let me know what you guys think of the WARBOND down below. Are you guys going to be picking it up? Are you going to be waiting? Is this something you've been very excited about? I absolutely love the aesthetic of it, at least, is nailing that. But yeah, let me know down below in the comments. Do you consider leaving a like on the video and a comment down below and subbing to the channel? Do come by the stream. We will be streaming Helldivers 8 in the mornings for the next coming weeks, just because of all the excitement happening. And if you haven't seen the new trailer for the Helldivers update next week, oh my god, go watch it after this. It's insane. All right, much love, YouTube. Peace out. Bye.